Good afternoon. Thank you. All right. You're good. I want to start off, while you're walking away, first off, thanks SV Insight for hosting this. It's really a breath of relief to actually attend a conference that is really focused on the things that matters, the technology, the innovation, the research, the academia aspects. It's what I focus my life on, and it's great to actually, see the market, the ecosystem kind of favoring this and promoting it. So going forward, hope to see more of these. Today, really going to focus on what are we doing at Accenture with our enterprise research. And so starting off kind of painting a picture of the landscape, where we fit in. That bottom aspect is where Accenture Research and my team fits in. Across Accenture, our architecture is really focused on innovation. We're really trying to breathe the innovation. We're trying to learn from our clients and teach our clients. And our role within research is to really look beyond our own four walls, learn as much as possible from our clients, from the ecosystem partners. Out here, Silicon Valley especially, with the venture capitalists, the startups, universities, academia, and conferences, this is where we really get the opportunity to learn. We then take it from our team, which has a variety of futurists, foresight thinkers, design thinking, industry technology experts, and really bring that together to figure out how do we actually believe the future is going to go? How can we help educate our clients? And I lead with this and I start with this because as we jump into the actual research and everything you see, it really comes from a wide range, a talented group of people that really focuses in these type of conference, breathe in that kind of education that we yearn for. So before we get to where we are today, it's interesting we have to think about like where did we actually come from. So if we look at that 2015, a lot of the research, a lot of it was about the education. It was the hypothetical. It was really, we needed to learn enough to become dangerous, learn enough that we're no longer dangerous before we can actually start applying it to our worlds, to our industries. That's where 2015, 2016, it's the conversation about how it can be used. If you look at the articles, all the headlines, everything was focused on blockchain's going to disrupt this industry. Blockchain's going to plays a major role. Blockchain has the impact to disrupt these players. And it's exciting because people took that early education and you start applying it to your industry. But then we can't really move this out of the labs, out of the R&D, until we actually start showing value. And so there's a heavy push in that 2017 to actually start demonstrating value. If companies, when we work with them, they're not going to actually move beyond a proof of concept, beyond a proof of value, unless you can actually demonstrate that value. There's value in innovation, but that innovation needs to get you somewhere. We're not going to have these major investments and this actually adoption beyond these side of desk and labs without that value. We now get to 2018, and we actually have these version 1s. We see the technology is actually applicable. We see that it solves our problems, and we start moving into what can we do with it beyond just that wireframe. We start actually thinking about the innovative concepts of what other technologies can we bring in? What other industries can we bring together? What are the actual organizational issues that we're going to tie in? Because we all know blockchain technology is not something we can just plug in and be done with. It is far more, it is a technology that is an enabler, but it's going to bring a wealth of organizational and business challenges, people challenges that need to be solved as well. And that's where we are today. We're really talking about how do we transform these industries and these markets. And a lot of our thought leadership, a lot of the articles that we're writing, really start questioning those, start attacking those questions. Start actually looking at the business component of it, starting looking at the people component, and thinking organizationally, where do we go from here? Within Accenture, I think it's really best to to tell the story to focus on our three core areas. Where do we see the major opportunities? And that's FS infrastructure, identity, and supply chain. FS infrastructure shouldn't surprise anyone. This is where really the blockchain technology investments from an enterprise standpoint really grew out of. This is where a lot of the early investments in the VC side came. But I don't think of these only in silo. I think in our future landscape, we're going to have a bit of all of these in our future blockchain solutions. When you think about identity, it is not only the way that a consumer, but an enterprise can access the blockchain as a way to actually manage and governance and play your role in joining that blockchain. Identity plays a role that we can actually enable new forms of identity. And with supply chain, as you see an example with coffee beans, it's far more than that. If you have the basics down, if you can actually have a successful implementation of a supply chain, it doesn't matter if that's a coffee bean or a crate of apples or a trade finance document. The digital asset can be different. It's the organizational components of that blockchain technology that enable the other opportunities as well. And I think going forward, these opportunities will encompass pieces of all of this. It will no longer be in the silos because you'll have the actual B2B payments or consumer payments. You'll have the identity and these new methods of engaging customers and allowing them to secure and control their identity, which pieces they want to give off, and then also what that digital asset is, the wide range across supply chain. I mean, that's where we do have ongoing projects for all these. For FS infrastructure, you see work going on with Singapore, with the Canada payments networks. With identity, there's work being done with refugees to help provide the 1.1 billion people who don't have a way to prove their, actually authenticate who they are. We've been working with ID20 to solve that. And then supply chain, obviously there's a wide range from coffee to life sciences to logistics with DHL. And so we break down what are kind of the key themes that we're thinking about within the blockchain, the state of play. So we've referenced those version ones. They are ready. We're actually seeing the implementations. We're seeing the change that they're driving. But there's also this heavy focus on the innovation. And from the research component, that's what most excites me, is what does this actually enable? What does this actually help to transform my business? What other technologies can I play with blockchain technology to figure out what that kind of future landscape looks like and the opportunity for me? The second one is it's the show me. Show me how it works. I come from a technology practice, and if you asked me what it was like to, maybe I should move to the public cloud. I want to potentially consider moving my data or maybe my applications or development areas to the public cloud. That's an easy question because I can actually build up a business case with a legitimate amount of confidence and say, okay, here's where your efficiency gains are going to come from. Here's where your costs. Here's where your run rate is. Here's your migration costs. I can probably show you your competitors, other people in your industry, maybe even other people in your company who have already done it. That's easy. Blockchain doesn't have that advantage. We're still so new in this industry that, yes, there are little pockets. There might be one or two examples that you can point to that are similar to the project you're working on, but it's still very new and it's still very nascent. It's in its infancy. So companies want to actually know, show me how it works. Let me actually start tuning it to fit my needs. Security. Security is a theme that will come up time and time again. I'll focus on some of the research we're doing there in a couple minutes. But in client conversations, it seems like you can't have a conversation on blockchain without 15 minutes in thinking about the security. Not only what level of security does blockchain bring me, but how do I ensure that I'm securing my blockchain? And the stakes are greater with security here because we're working with beyond our phone four walls. We're actually thinking about we may not have irreversibility. We may not have the ability to charge something back. We don't have full control depending on the governance model you're creating for a blockchain. Interoperability, we just had some conversations about that, and I think the past two panels and speech we heard about interoperability. We're really thinking about this as ecosystem integration. Our clients come to us and they have some concerns. If I build on this platform today, do I need to worry about it not connecting to the platform of tomorrow? Or what about the other platforms that already exist now? And so we understand those challenges, and that's something that we've been prioritizing over the past year to come up with solutions to the interoperability challenges. Identity, I've already referenced it, but as it is, it's not just that one silo. It really is core to blockchain. It's something that we feel that we can actually build toward the actual ecosystem and play a major role as a horizontal enabler. And the last one is blockchain as a team sport. I'm a firm proponent of building within minimal viable ecosystems, finding the necessary partners that enable your use case and bring those in and ensure that you're always providing value for everyone in that group. You can very easily bring on additional people later on. You can bring on additional companies. You can onboard fairly easily. But once you get those governance, once you get that business model, the operating model, you need to start small, but continue to show that there's value for everyone in there. When you have one company leading it, as we've seen with some of the lessons learned in both ours and others' challenges in the past, it's often because one company is trying to lead too strong, and they're not thinking about how the other players in this network are going to be gaining value. So I'll jump into a couple of our recent research, some of the things that my team has really been focusing on, and you'll see that this touches on a lot of the themes that I've already referenced. So one of them is really about blockchain and artificial intelligence. Beyond just two keywords that would get you a term sheet in San Francisco, we really believe that this is the value of the future. This is our key to your new IT stack of tomorrow. So we can think about it in two ways. One is, what value does blockchain provide for artificial intelligence, and then the other way around. And we'll start with the latter. We'll start with the former. When we think about artificial intelligence, your algorithms are only as strong as the data. Your predictive analysis, your ability for that artificial intelligence to provide value to your enterprise is only as strong as the data and the algorithms that are feeding into it. And so what happens when we can no longer trust that data? What happens are we currently limited to the data only within our, that our company fosters and gathers? I believe in the future you're going to see marketplaces, you're going to see far more opportunities, and data as a service is going to be a large industry. But if I can't track that data, ensure that it hasn't been tampered with, do I have to trust you that that data is honest, it's accurate? With blockchain technology, we provide provenance. We provide tracking actually from the origin where that data came from. I no longer have to trust. I can now know that that data from my AI algorithms is honest. And all throughout the process, through the third party, through the middlemen, eventually to where it goes into my models, it hasn't been tampered with. And that level of confidence is huge for a lot of corporations, enterprises right now that just don't have the confidence to use data that they themselves are not actually growing or fostering. And now when you think about the other way, what does AI do for blockchain? I like to use the example of we'll go to apples again. And the progression of artificial intelligence can be very easily told through the 3 A's. You have the assistant, you have the advisor, and you have the agent. If you have a crate of apples on a supply chain, you have a lot of players on that supply chain. What level of artificial intelligence can be helpful? We start off maybe as an assistant, as a chatbot. It provides that visual layer. I ask it a question. Where are the apples now? How many apples do I need for the demand? The chatbot layer can respond. It's very easy, very simple, that kind of first phase of artificial intelligence. We then move on to an advisor. Now, maybe that crate of apples is moving from Chile to Europe, and through paying attention to the weather, the artificial intelligence realizes that there's going to be a storm. It can provide a recommendation that we should reroute those apples. And everyone across the supply chain, because we're receiving real-time information, we have that level of transparency, can react. All the way from the farmer knowing that they may need to ship more apples to the end consumer knowing there might be a delay. And we then get to the final, which is the agent. And now it's no longer, because we have a level of trust, we've seen the success of these predictions, that agent can actually make the decisions on its own. And so now we have a supply chain that is leveraging artificial intelligence, and each player across this entire supply chain is reaping that value. I mentioned security. Security is at the forefront of pretty much every client conversation we have. We did a survey recently, and we found that 36% of C-suite executives feel that they are unprepared for the cybersecurity risks of today. 36%, just over a third. And so our goal with this paper was really to dive in and understand and help them breathe through the myths, going through what is actually separating fact from fiction of blockchain technology. The headlines say that blockchain's been hacked. Most people in the room, we know that's not actually true. It's not the technology that's being hacked. It's the endpoint vulnerabilities. It's the ecosystem, the third parties. It's that companies are prioritizing pushing code out, speed to market, rather than security. Those are the things that we want to make sure that we don't want to downplay the risk of security, but we want to make sure that our clients understand what are the actual things that I need to worry about. And so when you're developing a blockchain application, security needs to be embedded all the way through. We can't just put a wrapper around it. These are the kind of best practices, the lessons learned that we talk about here. And then we think about it a little more forward thinking. There's safeguarding for the future, the impact of quantum computing. I think we talked about some biometrics as well. Spoiler, I believe quantum computing is more of a red herring. It'll probably break everything, but we've seen some research more recently in some quantum-resistant algorithms. A lot of interesting development there. Connecting ecosystems, blockchain integration, this is our interoperability. Our labs put out a prototype, a patent, that really tries to solve this. And we did some work with Digital Assets Platform. We did R3 Corda, Hyperledger Fabric, and Hyperledger Quorum. I probably repeated one there, that's fine. And actually see that we can have business messaging across these, because this really is a huge concern of our clients, something that we're really thinking about. And we've put that first steps. We know that the prototype that we put out, the patent, is a first step. It works now. Will it scale? These are all questions we're still trying to learn, but it's something that, we're taking those first steps. Let's go. And so I'm wrapping it up, but how can you collaborate with Accenture Research? Academia, public sector nonprofit, research firms, analysts, corporations, we're always out there looking for how we can kind of collaborate. What are some opportunities? Almost all the POVs, all the thought leadership that we put out includes something from the ecosystem. And so that's why I love these conferences, having these interactions, the conversations in the lobby, and I'm hiring. So please feel free. If there's any way you feel you can collaborate with us, drop me an email, reach me on Twitter, connect with me in the hallway. But it's great to talk to you all. Thank you.